Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for the annual State of the University Address. Frank was just reminding me this is the 7th time we have done this together. So you all should know the drill by now. During our time today, there will be several ways for you to interact with us and ask questions or make comments. So at the conclusion of Frank's presentation, we will both take questions. First from anyone who sends in a question through social media or delivers a card to Suzanne Shaw. And we will ask those questions first. And then when we're completed with that, or if there are none, then we will have people directly ask questions. We'll bring you a microphone, and anyone can ask a question on any topic from the floor. Welcome, Kishore. I look forward to your question. I promise we'll start with you after all of the social media questions are done. I want to begin this afternoon by saying that we had an extraordinarily good year last year on all fronts but one. I bet you can guess the one. It's state funding. In the last 8 months, our system has experienced 3 reductions in funding. If you look at this slide, you will see that last year we were scheduled to receive $91.6 million. That was the biggest increase in history, about a 4.8% increase. We'd had our cooperative mechanical engineering program funded. We did not get all of the increase, and we did not receive all of the engineering funding. Instead, in FY17, we had a withholding of $6.3 million of operating money, and we had a withholding of almost $600,000 of the engineering fund. Then the FY18 budget came out. That's a year that begins July 1st. That's the year that we're in now. And we had a 6.58% reduction in funding. That's the $6.5 million there. And we lost half of our engineering money. And then shortly thereafter that, this summer at the end of June, the governor announced additional withholdings of $2.7 million plus the other half of the engineering fund. That's a 9% reduction in budget from this year to last year. You can add all those numbers up and see how much we're down in the last 2 years. Let me put these numbers in context for everyone. This is not a new trend. If you go back to 2002, state budget for all of higher education took about 16% of the budget. And so in the last 15 years, that's been reduced to now state budget has about 10% of the money dedicated to higher education. We receive less money today from the state than we did in 2002. That is true for all universities, and that's before factoring in inflation. But I would tell you the cuts that we received this year and that are shown on the board were certainly the most dramatic cuts that we have received from the state in the 6+ years that Frank and I have been doing this work. Unfortunately, we project the trend to continue for several years, and as a result of that, we've created what we hope, or what we believe will be a new sustainable funding model. It has 4 key principles. They're on the board now. It begins with maintaining affordability. A good part of our growth is a result of the value option, and we can't give that away. Second, becoming more efficient. We must prove to the state and our students as well, frankly, that we're good stewards of the tax and tuition money that we receive. We need to continue to grow revenue beyond raising tuition and fees. A part of that is enrollment growth. A part of that are new programs and other initiatives. And if we do these things, we will also be evaluating our tuition fee and scholarship structure. I wrote about these items in detail on August 8th, 2017 in a Clif Note. They're on the blog we keep on the President's website. Frank and I have discussed all of them at every division and college meeting that we have attended. That work is still online. The link is on the board. And I would encourage you, if you haven't read that material, to go back and read it and see the details. Despite that major funding obstacle, we had some really incredible achievements last year, and I want to review some of those with you. And we thought the easiest way to do that would be to start by showing you a video. You're the first group to see it in final form. It's hot off the press. It's our What's New at MSU video. It's about 4 minutes long.
Onward, upward. That vision started as a teacher's college in 1905. Onward, upward. It continued when we became Missouri State University a century later. Onward, upward. That vision, it's what keeps us moving forward to this. Onward, upward is adding new chances to learn. Check out new graduate degrees in vital fields in agriculture and computer science. It's elevating the Dar School of Agriculture to a college. It's continuing to be a leader in faculty research with more than $20 million in grants. We move Missouri State forward with incredible student experiences, including a chorale performance for the ages.
We have one of the great choral programs anywhere.
Onward, Upward is helping our neighbors research ways to improve Springfield with a community focus report and then assisting the Northwest Project. Trees? We love them. And Tree Campus USA loves that we love them. We are the top university for students who have visual impairments and one of the 5 best in the state for first-generation scholars.
I'm first.
I'm first.
I'm first.
My name is Shelby, and I'm first.
Another fall enrollment record included over 1,500 international students who want to move onward, upward. Our international flair encourages students to become travel bears. New chances are offered in Cuba, Uganda, Ireland, and Japan. It's an ongoing commitment to be a keystone university of inclusion. Onward, upward. What once was old, now is new. The Olin family helped us build a place for our students who fought for our country. But we don't forget active service members. The ROTC Bear Battalion brought home a championship of their own. Then there are landmark renovations at Glass and Ellis Halls. The inhabitants of Glass are doing big things. That's 5 straight national titles for the ad team. Golf, baseball, swimming, volleyball. We're Missouri Valley champions times 4. Our student athletes won in the classroom too. A record number graduated and moved onward, upward to what's next. And none of this would be possible without our foundation. They have 19 million reasons for being recognized for excellence in fundraising. Onward, upward. That's what's new at MSU.
So we'll be using that video in a lot of different places this year as we promote the university, literally all around the world. Let me follow up on some of the things that were referenced in the video to give you a little more detail. Enrollment has continued to increase. We set both system and campus enrollment records for the 6th consecutive year, 6 years in a row. We're now at 26,216 students in the system and 24,350 on the Springfield campus. In part, that's a result of a record freshman class, our biggest freshman class since we went to selective admissions. We have the most graduate students ever, over 3,500, and the most underrepresented students ever, almost 3,200 as a part of that accomplishment. More importantly, though, we graduated a record number of students, awarding over 4,600 degrees and over 300 certificates. We added new academic programs in areas of critical need. We began several new retention initiatives to retain more of our first-generation Pell-eligible and underrepresented students. As a result, St. Louis graduates and the St. Louis Regional Chamber recognized Missouri State University as one of 5 Missouri colleges and universities, only 3 of which were public, for leadership in graduating low-income students, first-generation students, and students of color with less debt. I'm very proud of that recognition. We increased the diversity of our faculty and staff, and we once again met our target of 20% of new hires being from diverse backgrounds. We made significant facilities investment. If you haven't gone through Ellis Hall, you should. It is a brand new, phenomenal building, and we dedicated it yesterday. But we also did renovations on the 3rd floor of the professional building, in the computer lab in Cheek Hall, in Blair Shannon, where there are all new bathrooms. Glass Hall renovation will be completed in about 5 weeks. A brand new health and wellness center is going up, and Hass-Dar Hall in West Plains will open in January. And maybe most importantly, in about a week, we should have a new parking lot open on Walnut Street. For all our faculty in here, know that most of the money for renovation has gone into academic space. Over $50 million this last year alone has gone into renovating academic space across campus, with most of that going into Glass and Ellis Halls, but also the other facilities mentioned. We improved safety on campus. Probably the most important thing we did was hiring an emergency preparedness manager, David Hall. We did that through a reallocation of funding where we closed other positions to be able to hire David, and as a result of his good work and the good work of his team, we are better prepared today to handle a crisis than we have been ever on all of our campuses. We've expanded our entrepreneurial activities at JVIC and the E-Factory, and for the 2nd year in a row, we received more than $40 million of external support through grants and sponsored contracts, as well as contributions through the foundation, which had its 2nd best year ever. And finally, we won 4 conference championships in athletics, with our athletes earning the highest overall grade point average in history. And frankly, the success of our baseball program and making the super regionals for the 2nd time in 3 years raised the profile of the university significantly. These were all group efforts. And so thank you to everyone who played a role in improving our university as we move onward and upward. One major disappointment this year was our inability to fund an across-the-board pay raise due to all of those cuts in state funding that I referenced. This was the first time in my 6 years in this position that occurred. And while we still did increase compensation, as you can see on this slide, including contributing more than $2 million to our pension fund more this year than last, we must do better next year, and that is the #1 priority of the Executive Budget Committee as we move into conversations about that. Building on the really good work of everyone here and everyone a part of our team, here are the 3 focus areas for the coming year. The first 2 areas were our focus areas last year, and we have added the third, funding, in anticipation of further decreases in state funding for next year. We've built an action plan based on these 3 areas of focus, and I want to share key highlights of that with you. I anticipate Frank will expand on some of those academic initiatives that I reference now. So there are certain things that we can do to both increase revenue and improve student success. And if you look at the list that's on the board now, the last 4 bullet points do just that. As we work to increase retention and graduation rates of our students through restructuring summer school, providing enhanced transition support, expanding advising services, and restructuring and pre-assigning GEP 101 classes. Those are all retention initiatives, and the more students we retain, the more that remain here and graduate with us, the side benefit of that is additional revenue that comes into the budget. So those are consistent. We can work on the revenue side while at the same time making our students more successful and increasing the number of graduates that we have. We will also need to strategically unbundle programs into stackable micro-credentials and create new opportunities for students to be successful. Maybe students that are not here with us, non-traditional students who want to come back to the university. We'll have a consultant on campus at the end of October to help us work through what makes sense for us in that venue. And then finally, we need to continue to grow enrollment of both our domestic students and sustain enrollment of our international students. On the video, you saw a reference to 1,500 international students. That's a great number. It's 212 less than we had last year. And so we will be working to turn that number around. Frankly, that loss hides what would otherwise be a bigger growth in our domestic students and students from Missouri and the region. If we look at the affordability issue, there are a variety of things that are going on now. The Faculty Senate has a task force working to evaluate reducing the minimum numbers of hours it requires to graduate. Chris Craig is leading a task force on open access textbooks, and can we make progress on affordability on that angle. The math department has rolled out its first pilot project on co-requisite math so that as we work to reduce the number of students that take developmental classes that don't count towards graduation in any way. And we will be rolling out next year several pilot programs on structured schedules, again, to help students make good choices in terms of the number of hours they take before they graduate. We will continue to work on our diversity and inclusivity efforts. We have more progress that needs to be done. We live in a state where the NAACP has issued a travel advisory for Missouri. St. Louis is still in turmoil. There is work we need to do as a state and on our campus. And again, this will result in increased retention and graduation rates for our underrepresented students as we work to make them feel an equal part of our community with any other student from any other background. They don't always feel like that, and there's continued work we need to do there. And if we do these things, frankly, only if we do these things, can we then evaluate and revise the tuition and fee schedule. That's a directive from our board. They have told us at the August retreat they want us to focus on efficiency and revenue growth first before we bring any proposed tuition and fee increases to them. Working together, I believe we can make progress on all these actions, and that will allow us to grow revenue. Why do we care about that? because if we grow revenue, then we will be able to hire additional faculty and work to reduce the student-faculty ratio. We'll be able to increase compensation for faculty and staff. We'll be able to increase our graduation and retention rates as well as the number of credentials awarded, improve our student experience, help grow the economy of our state, all the while maintaining affordability. We live in challenging times. Our country is divided along many lines. We saw that carried out yesterday, if any of you watched any of the pro football games that were on television. The world has become a scarier place. The tone and style of national and state political leadership has changed, and frankly, not for the better in my view. People are hurting. It would be easy for us for despair and or apathy to take hold. And so let me leave you with this, 2 final challenges. First, let's continue to be positive. We're making a difference in the lives of tens of thousands of students. The university is thriving despite the funding cutbacks. Our influence and profile as a university in the state has never been higher. Second, let's continue to emphasize our public affairs mission of community engagement, ethical leadership, and cultural competence. And let's do it with an emphasis on inclusion, civility, and kindness. Every employee, every student, no matter their political or religious views, from very conservative to very liberal, should feel a part of the Missouri State University family. If we can make them feel that way, this will continue to be a special place to attend school and to work. Frank is now going to report on some of the academic achievements of the past year and comment further on various academic initiatives underway. Frank?
Thank you, Cliff. In my comments today, I know that there are some things that I will highlight that are unique and perhaps different, but before we get into highlighting things, I want to point out that this semester we have 5,300 sections of class or lab that are going on every week. And what we do in those classes and laboratories and settings is sometimes seen as mundane, but it's the heart of the university. And what we do in those classes to inspire our students makes all the difference. And while I'm going to highlight some things that are beyond the classroom in many cases, I never forget the importance of the heart of the university in the class and the lab sections that we run. Starting with my highlights section of things, I'm going to emphasize various types of active learning and also collaboration. And then the second half that I talk about, I want to emphasize that we have some challenges and go into a few of the details, but also indicate a few things that we hope to do to make successes of the challenges. We had a great start, and thanks to the College of Natural and Applied Science and the Dean's leadership in that role, we had a natural science event, a once-in-a-century natural science event, a solar eclipse for this point in the globe, that we were able to have a euphoria about, a learning experience, and bring the community into that event. What a great start. I have to admit I was nervous, and it turned out probably the best start of a year that I think has ever occurred. And if we could regress just a moment back to our enrollment numbers, all of those numbers on there are record enrollment numbers. The ones that didn't get mentioned by Clif are dual credit, where we surpassed 2,800 students in our dual credit program. And I've got to re-mention graduates because at graduate college level, that 35 number has haunted me for a number of years, and so we got there. But what's not on the record in different segments on the screen is to get there, many programs grew in their majors. Many programs, but I want to highlight a few because they show that growth occurs where we have economic realities and demand. Our pre-nursing program has 670 people in that area. Because of that kind of number and pressures in the community and our state, we will try to expand that nursing program to taking in more than 61 for our bachelor's program to taking in at least 72 next year, and hopefully progressively in years to come, gradually build that further. Our computer science and computer information system programs in different colleges have increased about 50% over the last 5 years in their undergraduate majors. Our cybersecurity program at the graduate level it's relatively new, but it increased about 50% this year, going to 50 in the master's degree. And finally, I want to mention our doctorate in the nurse anesthesia practice program has 135 students, and we are becoming a national known entity in that area. Online, I saved and not mentioning its growth, but if you notice that this semester we have a little over 14% of our credit hours earned online. In the summer, it's a whopping 53%. For the last last fiscal year, we have almost 16% of the credit hours in online education, and we assume that's going to continue to grow. To aid that process, last year we started a new approach for our faculty, and we had a boot camp in which our faculty in the College of Natural and Applied Science, 12 of them went through a compressed period of time to gain some skills and also at the same time develop a new class. Because of that, we will have 4 new online classes in biology, 5 new classes in our geology and planning department, and 1 each in terms of math and chemistry and physics. We will run another boot camp this year. The doors are open. We're taking solicitations for all those who want to join right now. In addition to that, now I want to move into some of the highlights of specific college areas, and I thought I'd start with the fact that our master's degree in computer science had a very late approval process in midsummer, and yet we start with 15 students in that program. And to aid the program and the whole of the computer science area, we have a renovated laboratory in Cheek Hall that will accommodate 50 students. Our undergraduate, as I said, is a booming process right now. There is demand in that area, either short-term programming or the long-term or the graduate, all of them. If we look down the line and look at another college, the College of Arts and Letters, we have a $2.5 million grant that was achieved by Dr. Andrea Hellman that is helping teachers in the Ozarks in their process where they take people that are not first in their English language, but second in that language. How do we teach them in the public schools, in the parochial schools? And so we have partners from Manette, McDonald County, Neosho, and Springfield, and we anticipate at least that $2.5 million grant is going to help a lot of students, at least 85, who are teachers now, but still students of ours who will get a certificate, but they'll also get an endorsement from the state for the skills they have developed in teaching English language. Moving on to some of our learning opportunities that have expanded now as we have a College of Agriculture due to long-term connections and the help and the work of the foundation. We took another farm into our wing. Now we are land poor, so to speak, but land rich from the teaching standpoint. This 80-acre farm provides another opportunity for students to have active learning sites. And almost immediately after we had the approval in March at the Board of Governors meeting, then Monsanto assists us in some field plantings, and our students are working those plantings even now in the harvesting process. If we go on into the College of Agriculture and look at the array of things that they have at their hands, so to speak, we are the envy of many land-grant institutions. We have indeed a 190-acre fruit science station, a 3,300-acre Jernigan Ranch, a massive woodland area, the Shealy Farm of 256 acres. We have sites for learning in all areas of agriculture and forestry now, from row crop to cattle raising. If we take another step in looking at what we do in the College of Business, it's already been known for a long time that we moved back into Glass Hall, but in that process we have 5 active learning areas for student development, including a trading lab that has a real-time stock market approach with a fairly expensive software package of Bloomberg's. And in that process, our finance students will have classes in that room. We also have a lab that is going to be dedicated to sales and marketing. And when I heard they had one-way mirrors in there, I knew the sales pitches that are coming out of our students are going to be pretty high because they're going to be critiqued on how to do it. In addition, you notice the other laboratory areas and the creative work-together think tank type processes that that building will provide. If we look to another college, the College of Education is a situation where we have increasingly tried to get our students into the school systems. So we have an active internship program that's the envy of the state. In that internship program, we're now starting our 3rd year where 25 students in elementary education spend a year in doing what they've been shown a little bit how to do, and now they really learn how to do it. Everything from the assessment side to the direct teaching and lesson planning, they are involved with master teachers. We have a One Missouri project in which now for a couple of years we've worked with inner city districts in St. Louis, the Riverside District, and also the Platteville, and in Kansas City, Lee Summit, where we offer the opportunity for students that are in the underrepresented area to come to campus for a little short time in the summer, get some help on what it would be like to come to college and how to get there. And then if they come here, we can also assist them by working back with the school district with the overall idea of placing them there in student teaching and placing them there eventually in a job to come. Chris Craig and a number of you have worked on our Bear Power project, which a lot more information will be coming on that project, which we plan to take some students from 17 to 23, 25 of intellectual disability, give them a college experience that gives them a certificate and hopes to move them into being a employable person. If we take a look at the College of Health and Human Services, by the way, I had another picture and I took it out about how they moved that up the steps. Matt, the elevators weren't working. And so they all got together, and this is a cooperative thing. We have a balance instrument now that's an envy to anyone, almost $150,000 instrument that was able to be obtained because everybody worked together that has an interest there. Physical therapy, audiology, athletic training, occupational therapy work together. Now we can have research and student activities connected with that instrument being present. MSU Care is another area in which we heard about this last year as we opened it October 15th, a year and a half ago, or almost 2 years now. We have served over 4,000 clients in the last year, and now we're doing about 400 a month. And in that last year, over 1,000, or approximately 1,000, were individually clients. Some then came and repeated sessions. Most recently, we've opened our vision screening service learning program to those people that come in that need care. Finally, I'm looking at the College of Humanities and Public Affairs, who have always been active in Study Away. We had a project in Haiti where Laura Hobbs had her class doing work with young children, among others there, and some older, in testing them for the need for glasses and assisting them in that way, among other things that they did while in Hawaii. We had another project to cite here that went to the Netherlands, where the students of political science of Kevin Pybus were able to gain insights into a different system of government, slightly different. And collectively then, we see that if we look at lots of Study Away that's going on, we served over 800 students, or over 700 students in the Study Away experience. Most of that growth is in the short-term Study Away type experience, and that amounted to 34 different programs last year, which was a 26% increase over the prior year. Victor, thank you for giving me some stimulus to talk about that. At the graduate level, one of the interesting activities that has occurred is after little by little growth, the Masters of Professional Studies now is the second largest graduate program. It's interdisciplinary and it offers great flexibility, both of which are things that there's a group of students that look for those kinds of things. In addition to the Masters of Professional Studies, we have a master's degree that's interdisciplinary, and collectively it's those two numbers that give you the 148 on the right as far as the majors in those two areas, but the vast majority, about 95%, are in the professional studies program. Our graduate partnership in Unicesumar in Brazil is quite unique. We have 22 students that started that Masters of Professional Study program with an applied communications option, and that is done as a combination where our teachers actually teach online for part of their program and on the ground. So Sean Wall was on the ground there, now our interim dean, and taught a class and finished it up online, but we'll also use teachers from Unicesumar. And so it's a unique experience. It adds to the cultural competence, I think, of all those that get involved as a teacher. And indeed, I think this is one of the important experiments we're trying. Another type of collaboration I wanted to emphasize is where we have colleges collaborating with our center that brings in students in the International Way, the International Leadership and Training Center. The College of Education has their first cohort of students. Gilbert Brown's been heavily involved with that, coming in to do a graduate certificate in what higher education is all about. And for the third year, our College of Agriculture has students from Ninshaw University, but this year some of those 41 students are in other places on campus as well. Moving now on to some of the challenges and some of the actions we might take for success. One of the things that we do that continually is upon us is the accreditation or in other type of outside approval process. This day, in fact, we had accreditors here that I met with this morning in speech language and audiology. Last week we had nursing here for a nursing board approval process from the state of Missouri. So we have accreditations that are continually one way we try to assure our quality of our programs. There are others, but this is this year. If we look at performance measures now, performance measures are changing. This is a challenge because we met all of our performance measure every year now for 5 years, and we're going to meet it again this year. But now they're going to change, and half of them are going to be new. In the efficiency section of that slide, we have 2 new measures, affordability and operating salaries per FTE. I don't have a clue yet how they're going to have the metrics on those goes. So I'm not going to mention much about it, but it will be a challenge. On the left-hand side here, completions per student FTE is a new measure, and I'm going to be redundant and re-show this indication of what our past history has been in awards. And I have 2 major purposes. Of the 4,900 awards that we gave last year, certainly the vast majority are in degrees, but certificates now number over 300. Both types will be able to be countable as far as we know, and so let's not forget using certificates that we have that can be valued by the student. Secondly, if you look at all of those awards, we've been on a good increase, but the increase depends on our starting point in all of the areas, so we can't forget that. Looking at that same type of data in a little different way, we have all colleges contributing. And one thing I am going to like about this measure is the fact that everything we do with our students in a positive way will be counted in the end, whether they come in as sophomores, whether they come in as transfer students or graduate students, all is going to be counted because it's the output that's going to count. A second thing I like about it is that we're able to, show that nothing should be forgotten across our colleges as long as they're contributing outcomes. And it's not just freshman to sophomore retention that will be important. If you look at the bottom of the screen, you see 30% of our awards last year were given to graduate students. Again, my old graduate dean comes out, but if you want to forget the graduate program, you drop out 30%. That's not a healthy way to look at the future. Clif has mentioned that because we have a 125-hour requirement for graduation, we thought it was time to look at that at the faculty senate level. They are looking at it, and he didn't get to show all the pretty pictures here of the people, so I thought I should do that part. But what are the real background pieces of information that come out of the reason to look at this? Number one, we're the highest in the state for a requirement. Number two, almost 4 out of 5 of our programs could be completed if we didn't have a university requirement of 125 hours. They're completable at 120 hours without any change. Number three, I think it's worth noting that in having the charge that came from Cindy McGregor to this committee, the idea was that if we would make a change, nobody who was in that other 1/5 and has accreditation and other reasons for more hours would have to make a change. We're also taking a look at summer school. Perhaps this is a more complex problem. And you notice we have people from basically all parts of campus, from housing, from financial aid, as well as faculty and the registrar's office. Again, this is an area we would look at for one primary reason. How can we better serve our students? And in looking at that, Tom Dickey is the chair of this committee, as he is the other one. The questions are something like this. Can we increase enrollment by having greater flexibility in the summer school process? The answers are not absolutely clear, but that's the type of question we want to look at. And we already know that our departments are frequently dividing the summer school into components of 4 weeks and sometimes 2 weeks. We also know that our intersession prior to summer school is effectively dying. So we need to look at this and see what is our best approach for the future. We can impact success in a lot of ways. Our Jumpstart program's been going for many years, and this is a program that serves students who didn't quite meet our admission requirements, but if they'll come in the summer, they can continue on. We had 52 of those students last summer. Thanks to Wes Pratt and a number in student services and to Rochelle, a lot of people working together, we have a transition program now for a different kind of student, a student that is here but can probably profit from a little more attention about what the experience of transition is all about. The last thing on my slide here is to illustrate one other thing. We're going to change admission requirements and raise the criteria in one direction, and that is below a ACT composite of 17 will not be admissible. It's a small change, but an important one because our data shows those students have not been very successful and they need some help prior to coming, and we will do them a favor if we make that change. Retention, of course, is always on our mind, and we promote retention in a number of ways, but the GEP program is our starting point for that. Right now we have 28 sections that are first generation or college sections, and we'll try to increase that number. The total number is 96, so we have a long ways to go. But in the process, we want to have better utilization of Blackboard. We want to introduce the student educational planner and get them involved in GEP 101 in using that educational planner, and try to work on retention in those kinds of ways. Eventually, we'd like to have a second year experience in that hands-on way, probably of either study away or service learning, but there are other possibilities in research and so on. Clif has mentioned remedial classes are something that takes time, money, and often is discouraging. So the co-requisite model is one approach. Last spring, Margaret Weaver ran a co-requisite English session where they joined the remedial class with the regular required class. She wrote a pretty extensive report. I read it. My conclusion was there's hope that it can be successful, but it's not a proven fact. So we'll now run more co-requisite classes in English this fall. And as Clif has noted, we'll have one in college algebra being linked to Math 101 in a sequence for next spring. And right now we're doing a co-requisite model in Math 130. Perhaps a bigger impact overall is good advising as to what kind of class best fits the major. And so a math pathway approach is something we need to pay more attention to. Structured schedules, again, have been mentioned, but this is simply the idea that all over the country they're finding that if you give less choices to their first enrollment, students are going to do better, and those are called structured schedules. All of our GEP students will be pre-registered in a section so they can hit that first gen or whatever section best fits them. In the College of Business, they volunteered that the pre-business students will be in a structured schedule of 3 classes, not all total. And we also will have the pre-nursing students, again, in a structured schedule model. And we'll probably do that by using the student educational planner and strongly getting the students working with the advisement process and making that happen in the pre-nursing program particularly. If we take a look at the advisement initiatives, we know and have always felt advising was important. That doesn't mean we can't always do better in advising. And recently, the deans, working with their departments, have gotten most of the degree plans updated. So 4-year degree plans are available, and all will be soon. In that process, then in GEP, The four-year degree plan will be utilized, and it will be a part of the advisement process for the longer term. Moving on to some other types of activities, the Transfer Council has advised that at least for transfer students, and we've decided for everyone, they should see an advisor at least 3 times. And so that will be put in practice. So there are a lot of things that can impact our success to graduation. Elements of retention, all the way along the line. But if we look at all the things we've mentioned, structured schedules, no one of them fixes an issue. And a lot does depend on student motivation. In my box down at the bottom of that slide, try to point out the fact that, the student has a responsibility here, and they have a lot of variables in their lives too, financial and family, which we cannot control. We can control how much we care about what we're doing with the students, and it's not just programming, it's how much we care and put into practice in every level of what we're doing. So thank you very much for your attention. I appreciate it.
All right, I know some people need to leave, and that's perfectly fine, but we will take first questions that were either written on cards or sent via social media to our Vice President, Suzanne Shaw. Suzanne, do we have any questions?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yep.
For those who have cards, we have a couple people in each aisle who will come by and pick them up. And I will start with the social media questions. The first one is campus safety, a current issue. What changes, if any, should we expect to see following recent clarification of Title IX protocol?
Great question. As you all may have seen in the Chronicle or on news, the Secretary of Education withdrew the guidance from the Obama administration on sexual assault from 2011 and 2014. We talked about this morning in Admin Council, so I know what the changes are. It gives more flexibility to universities in terms of standard of proof. We all, on a criminal trial, the standard of proof is beyond a reasonable doubt. Colleges before 2011 either chose preponderance of the evidence or clear and convincing evidence. The Obama administration required universities to do preponderance of the evidence, which simply means what's more believable. Do you believe this student stole from this other student or assaulted this other student, etc.? So the new language allows universities to choose their standard of proof for disciplinary measures. It also allows for mediation of sexual assault claims that had been precluded under the theory that victims are often pressured in those situations into accepting a resolution that they found unacceptable. And then the third thing, what was the third thing? 60 days. Thank you, Wes. The third thing was right now the requirement is that a complaint has to be resolved within 60 days, and they have taken that away and given additional time. So nothing that they put out last week changes what we have to do, and so we plan to make no changes. And that's a good thing. I will tell you, there is no university in America that does better than we do on Title IX, period. We have a great team. We give both students due process. We have had students found not responsible that have been accused of sexual assault, both on the investigative stage and at the hearing stage. We have had a student who made a false claim who was ultimately found responsible for making that false claim, and we have expelled a dozen or more students from the university who are involved in sexual assault. So we are doing really well on this. There is no need for us to change it. Our team has written the Department of Education saying this is what we do and this works. And so no changes in the short term. That will be referenced in my Clif Note tomorrow. No changes in the short term. We continue to aggressively prosecute those alleged to have been involved in sexual assault while making sure they get a fair hearing, period. Good question. Suzanne, next question.
Okay, the next one is more for Frank with regard to academic research. What actions will be undertaken to expand and encourage research among the faculty in order to be a high research institution?
Well, you saw that data in the film clip that we had about $20 million. We will continue to encourage faculty to go for external funding because that's a key to our research. All the deans will continue to have programs that incentivize faculty in the research process. Sometimes it's through a monetary incentive for going for a grant, and sometimes a small incentive for a publication. It figures into our tenure and promotion process. None of those things are new, but they are continuing actions, and I would tell you that I think our grant program, in fact, our international travel program to present research was underutilized the last 2 years we've had it. We had money left over. That's because we need to have the people applying that have done things and move on to making those presentations. I don't see us putting a lot of new funding, but anytime a person is able to really do something outstanding, I think the deans and department heads work with them in special ways.
Okay, thank you, Frank. The next one is budget related. Will Missouri State encourage those that can retire to do so in order to create job security for those who are not retirement eligible?
Read that again.
Will Missouri State encourage those that can retire to do so, creating job security for those who are not retirement eligible?
Probably not in any kind of official program. I don't anticipate us having a retirement incentive program this year. We have not found that those saved money, frankly, for us when we did those under Dr. Kofer and maybe Dr. Nitzel. I don't think ultimately we saved money in those programs. I think it is always appropriate for employees to have conversations with their supervisor, their department head, about their retirement plans. I think it would be improper for us to pressure people to retire and for any reason, whether it saves other people's jobs or not. But again, it's not improper to have conversations with your supervisor about when you intend to retire so that there can be planning that takes place in that regard.
Okay, thank you. The next one is for Frank. Will advisors have to become certified with a master advisor program, and if not, why?
I don't know where we stand in terms of requiring all of our people advising to have gone through our master advising program, but as I recall, most of them have gone through. I simply don't know that that's an absolute requirement, so the deans can help me out here. But I do know that most people go through that. Requirement is always not the best way to get people's attention. I think encouragement is going on, and we will continue to encourage him to go through the Master Advisor program. And I'd also say that that doesn't quite apply to all levels of advising, so there are other ways that advising needs to take an upward movement, often by colleagues helping out and showing new people what needs to be done.
Okay, thank you, Frank. And last question from social media and from cards is network security. Can you tell us more about the email phishing scams that took place last week, and how were they resolved?
Some of you may have noticed that last week I think on one of them, 2,200 people got a phishing scam that if you clicked on the link, went to what looked like a login for your My Missouri State account. If you clicked on that, and people did, then if you then put in your password, and I think 6 people did, the scheme, the goal was to get to your personal account and change your payroll deposit. That would have meant that your check would, instead of going to your bank, would go to the bank of the criminal. I believe that we caught all of those. Jeff Morrissey and his team very vigilant on this, and got back with the employees that made that mistake to make sure that they changed their password so that no one lost their check for this month. That would have been significant. We are always working on to be vigilant on this. Literally thousands of phishing schemes are caught and never make it to you, but a handful get through. Here's a tip. We will never ask you to log in and put in your password in an email you get. We will never ask you to log in and put in your password in an email from the university. Never do that. Never do that. Now, how do we change your password? You have to go to the website yourself, right? So that's a different deal. We change our passwords regularly because that's a part of our security pieces. If we send you an email, we may tell you to do that, but we're never going to send you the email for the login. If you ever get an email that says, log in and plug in your password, it is from a criminal trying to steal your money. Don't do it. If you lose your money and you come back to Steve and say, hey, I logged in and someone stole my money, we're going to say, sorry, don't log in. Don't log in. Now, we're going to try to roll out some training. We're going to train all of our staff. We've already trained 700, although, frankly, one of the people we trained logged in and put in their password. I know we laugh about this, but I mean, we are getting literally hundreds of these every month. And so we've got to be cognizant, even in a world where we get dozens and dozens of email, be careful. There'll be a note in a week from Tuesday in Clif Note kind of going through this and explaining it in more detail. We're going to do some additional extensive training. We want to get all our staff trained by the end of the year on this. Next semester, we'll take this to departmental meetings and work on faculty. Again, be careful in terms of these kind of scams. When you see the Clif Note a week from Tuesday, there'll be some clear, hey, here's some tips that you will know, besides the big one, that this is a scam. And it's in the email address is the key. The one for the 2,200, if you looked at the email address, Jeff, what was it? So the university's never going to send you an email from someone called melissa@jbcabinets.com. So when you combine that with we're never going to ask you to log in, two big clues that was a scam. Again, we just got to be careful, and we laugh about it, and I don't mean to berate you or belittle this, but I mean, I get them too, and I'm not immune from making mistakes. We just got to all be cognizant that there are people out there trying to hack into the university and your personal information and your bank accounts. All right, I think we've done all of those. Who has a question in the audience? And I promised Kishore we'd start with him, so let's get a microphone down here. Can't imagine that people aren't staying for Kishore's question.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Clif, and thank you for being a great president of a great university.
Thank you, Kishore.
I have 3 questions as such.
3? Did they 3?
Yes.
All right, let's do them one at a time.
Okay. I remember you wrote in one of your tweets, or I read somewhere, that you would like MSU to be the #1 undergraduate choice of students in Missouri. So my question is MSU already at this time the flagship University of Missouri as far as undergraduate studies are concerned, well ahead of Mizzou?
So we came within 4 students of having more Missouri freshmen than the University of Missouri in Columbia. That makes them very nervous. And I guarantee you they have new admissions folks, they have a new leadership team. They are working really, really hard to turn that around. I happen to believe that we are a phenomenally good choice for undergraduate programs, and we're going to do our best to frankly continue to work very hard to also become the #1 choice for undergraduate students. Now, that doesn't mean our master's programs aren't phenomenal. It doesn't mean our doctorate programs and other programs aren't really good. But 85% of our undergraduate students come from Missouri. And that is significantly more than the University of Missouri. More and more people are coming to visit. More and more people are looking at us. And that enrollment growth is important, both from a revenue standpoint, a profile standpoint, our influence at the university. You may have seen that the students that took the ACT test in Missouri this last year chose us as their #1 dream school, where they want to go to school. We were also second. So we've made a lot of progress on that.
Thank you.
Question number 2.
Yes, thank you. Last week, I remember seeing a photo where you are sitting and President of Mizzou is sitting next to you, and y'all are having conversations.
We did.
What was the verbal agreement made, if any? Are
So-
they trying to take advantage of us?
Say again?
Is Mizzou trying to take advantage of us?
I try not to let my friend Moon Choi take advantage of me. We had a really good conversation for about an hour and a half in terms of our legislative agenda and how to work together in terms of funding and what each school was thinking about in terms of an approach and how to best approach the governor and the legislature. We talked about various academic programs that we could work together on. For example, could they set aside certain slots for Missouri State University undergraduates for med school who then ultimately want to study in Springfield as in their 3rd and 4th years of med school? Very open to that. We talked about some of the other big issues that are going to be on both our agendas next year. We talked about tuition policy. We talked about our agriculture work together. And by and large, while we compete for students, by and large, our interests most times are the same. And so the more we work together, the better we know what each other is doing. We talked about how their government affairs team is going to work this year, because you might remember they cut them all loose and are hiring new people. And so we wanted to make sure we were going to get off to a good start on that. The University of Missouri is a great partner for us in a variety of ways. They are the #1 leader in higher education for our state is the land-grant university. They need to take that position, and we want to be a good partner with them, and I think we'll have a good year working together on a variety of things.
So when it comes to undergraduate program, MSU is obviously very, very, very good in Missouri. However, when it comes to master's degrees, how do we compare with Mizzou or other universities in Missouri, master's degree?
Frank, do you have a sense of comparison between our master's degree programs here and the University of Missouri at Columbia master's
Is that a
programs?
quality question?
I presume so.
I'm not sure whether it is a quality question, but The biggest comparison all the way, I don't have a number count to give you, but our master's program ends for a student here with a significant prize that they started, they went through, and they got a master's that they wanted to get, and we did treat them like they were the top of the heap. That is not true in a research university of MU all the time. Many times the master's in the basic areas of the arts and sciences is a consolation prize rather than a first prize type event. There are areas where it is the primary award, but we stack up in every way that we have to compare on the accreditation side. Beyond that, I can't say.
Anything else?
Since you asked, one more final.
I got nothing till 2:30. I'm good.
Now, obviously, you are a great president, and provost also is very, very great. Do you promise us, the university constituents, that you will never leave MSU and take up some other? You will not take up a job somewhere else, like I have heard some of the administrators have tried to apply, etc.
No,
What
that's a
about
fair-
you?
That's a fair question. I don't think Frank's going anywhere. I think we got him. So the board, that's a fair question. And I think the question may be paraphrased, are you looking or interested in other jobs? The board asked me that this summer, and my answer to them was no. I was approached by a major university last year. I thought about it for a day and turned them down, told them I was not interested because this is the best job for me. And so I know Missouri politics, I think I know our university. I think we've had very good success in 6+ years with great partnership with Frank. And so this is my last job, and I'm going to work it as long as it's good. And if that's 2 years or 6 years or 10 years, whenever that's over, then I'll retire.
Thank you.
All right, anybody else want to ask a question? Yes, up here.
Hi, will the university continue to advocate for greater access to doctoral programs?
Great question. We are continuing to advocate for that. Last year, a bill was filed that all the universities and community colleges signed off on. It passed the House. It did not get action in the Senate. We continue to advocate for that and think that has a great chance to pass this year. The next step for us would be to add additional professional doctorates. And so that will be a priority this year, and I think it has a reasonable chance to pass. Anything else? Again, great. Thanks for coming out tonight, and let's have a great semester.